From 9 on Your Side Sports, Cincinnati's longest-running sports talk show on television. This is Sports of All Sorts with Reggie Wilson.
What up? Welcome to Sports of All Sorts. With an 0-10 start, we can almost put the Bengals on the clock for 2020. It's officially time to launch the tank for Joe or tank for whoever else you want the Bengals to take with the first pick. But not tanking in the traditional sense. This team just keeps finding ways to lose. Bengals in Oakland taking on John Gruden's Raiders. First quarter, Joe Mixon playing in front of family. About 75 tickets he had to get. He showed out for Mama and them early with his first rushing touchdown of the season. Finally, Bengals up 7-0. Raiders respond with a wide open TD catch to tie the game, and it's Oakland's game from there. Derek Carr giving the orange and black some flashbacks from last week with Lamar Jackson. Not quite, though, but that Superman into the end zone is impressive. It puts Oakland up 14-7. Bengals stayed in it until the end. Ryan Finley trying to make something happen in the 2-minute drill, but he gets picked off. The Bengals lose 17-10. Joining me is Jim Breech, the Bengals' all-time leading scorer in franchise history. To break it all down, Jim, how you doing tonight?
Good, Reggie. How are you?
Well, I'm doing a little better than the Bengals are.
Yeah, I think all of us are.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier when you just you watch it, but you don't have to live it.
Yeah.
You know, and they're living it, and it's tough. It's a long trip home, and you spend a lot of time thinking about what could have been, and you know all these there's what ifs. They did, you know, and you're just thinking that how close it could have been, and you know, so you sit there and think about the plays you could have made differently that might have changed the outcome of the game.
Yeah, so they played with some fire today. They played like they weren't winless. What did you like from what you saw from them?
No, I agree. I think they really had a lot of energy. I really like the running game. The last few weeks has really picked up. They've changed their blocking scheme up some, and it's really made a big difference. I would have loved them to see them stick with it a little bit longer.
Keep it going.
Yeah, because I think they could have, you know, they were struggling, particularly on third downs, and maybe if they shortened up to third downs, even maybe ran the ball a few times on third down. But overall, I really like that. They put some pressure on Carr. Carr had only been sacked 12 times all year coming in. And they put some pressure on him, got him a few times, I think 3 times. So that was encouraging to see him come and really put some pressure pretty consistently in the game. Unfortunately, I mean, we can't seem to get anybody open.
Yeah.
The guys are like Velcro to the other team. and our defenders their guys seem to be running free all the time. So that's tough to defend. But when it got down close, they're really good at keeping teams out of the end zone. Unfortunately, they're really struggling to get in the end zone, and that's why they scored 10 points again. Although, if you think about last week, Baltimore kind of put it on the Texans, so last week doesn't look so bad now.
I know. So I guess some encouragement. They scored in the first quarter. That was the first time they did that since week 2 against San Francisco. So that was pretty impressive. Joe Mixon finally got into the end zone. What are you liking from him? You mentioned that run game. It's been cooking up a little bit the last couple of weeks with him.
Well, I don't think it's changed for him. It's just that you actually have some creases to run in. I mean, if you just have a wall of people to run in, I don't care who it is. Earl Campbell could be back there. He's not gaining yards.
I don't know. You might.
I know that. You can't do it. I mean, he might get a couple yards, but Mixon, when he gets out there, he's a great running back, and we're finally getting to see what his capabilities are. I really like, and they seem to be getting the backs into the passing game a little bit. Giovanni Bernard got the ball a few times at 30 yards on 3 carries. Unfortunately, dropped a big pass there toward the end, would have been a first down. But you know, they're doing some things they weren't doing earlier. They just have to figure out how to get Ryan Finley going, and so that they can sustain some drives. You know, last week they had 6 drives of 10 plays, but they were getting like 30 and 40 yards out of those drives. They've got to sustain them and go all the way down the field and score touchdowns.
All right, switching to the other side of the ball. You mentioned that defense. They did get some pressure on Derek Carr. You know, they still are the lowest in the league in sacks, but they got a few of them today, 3 of them, you said. So what are you liking from that defense, that unit? They played a bend, don't break, but, I mean, you know, they still allowed more points than
I would love to see more consistency.
Right.
Because, you know, Joseph had 110 yards, but he had a bunch of runs where he got no yards or even had minus yards. but then he'd gash him for 20 yards. So I'd like to see that consistent. Jermaine Pratt is now going to be playing all the time, and you could see him flying
Preston
around
Brown
the field.
being gone.
Preston Brown being gone. And I'd love for him just to cover tight end a little bit. You know, their tight end in Oakland is exceptional.
They got a bunch of them.
Well, particularly Waller. But
Yeah.
You're right. They have a bunch of them. You know, they could somehow get a body on a tight end, knock a pass away here and there.
And Moreau was wide open.
But I think be consistent in the way against the run game, so that puts teams in longer third downs.
And so, switching back over to the other side, Ryan Finley, Coach Zach Taylor said he put him in because he wanted to see what he had in him. Let's see, he had 13 of 31 today, 115 yards and that interception at the end. Have you seen enough of him to know what he is yet?
I don't know. The disturbing thing to me was early in the game, and he's just trying to dump some passes off.
Right.
And he's not even coming close. I mean, he's throwing balls 2 and 3, and guys are just barely getting their hand on it. And that was kind of,
Jarring.
Jarring, disappointing.
Yeah.
Because you want to do some things to be able to keep some drives alive, and if you can't hit a guy that's just standing there stationary, that's kind of extremely disappointing.
Right.
Again, we don't know with TV. We don't really know what's going on down the field as far as where guys are open. Maybe is he missing somebody that's open that maybe Dalton would throw to? Those things are the hard ones to say. Right now, it doesn't seem like they're testing him down the field at all. Because everything he's throwing is very short. It's to the outside, not much in the middle of the field. So these first 2 games, I think after the preseason, we were hoping he'd really come in and play great. I thought he actually played pretty well against Baltimore.
Right.
This game, I thought, was very disappointing. They were giving up almost 290 yards a game in passing, and they gave up 115 today. And so you were hoping that they could maybe get the passing game going a little bit, and it obviously didn't happen. So I would say this was a step back from last week.
Obviously, yeah. Yeah, so we're sending our thoughts to Auden Tate. That was a scary injury
Absolutely.
he had. But real quick, Jim, just want to get your thoughts here. They got the Steelers next week. Do you see a chance for a win there, considering how they played today, only holding Oakland to 17 points?
Again, I think there's always a chance you play a team that's not Baltimore and run the offense the way they run it. I think you do have a chance. They had a couple guys banged up, wide receivers, so they were struggling. It looked like the Bengals toward the end of the Pittsburgh game the other day. They were kind of banged up on the pass in the receivers, and Rudolph was having trouble finding guys. I thought, well, that looks familiar.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, they got to stop the running game because Pittsburgh will stick with the running game.
They will.
And then they'll just throw the little dump-offs, on play action, which I was kind of disappointed that the play action wasn't more effective today, considering they were running the ball pretty effectively.
Yeah. Well, another week, another loss. We'll hopefully see you next week after a win, maybe.
I'm a believer. I always believe, because I think when it happens, it's going to be unexpected, but it's going to be like they won the Super Bowl, I guarantee you.
That's
what it feels like.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, Jim, thanks so much for taking the time. We'll see you next week.
All right, Reg, thank you.
All right. We'll be right back talking hoops with a special guest. Welcome back. The Xavier men's basketball team is off to a 4-0 start this season, and my next guest is none other than Musketeers head coach Travis Steele. Coach, thanks for taking the time. You got a busy schedule. I appreciate you taking a little time with me tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. All right, so I feel like, and I said this before, I feel like the team kind of ran out of time last season. You all were really kind of putting it together. What did that experience teach you about, what this team has to offer, and how are you, feeling about the progress so far of the team?
I think that how we ended last year, we got a lot better, and I think it showed our guys what works and what doesn't work. Mm-hmm. We got a heck of a lot better on the defensive end late in the season. I think in the last 11 games, Reggie, if you just take those games, we'd have been ranked the top 25 defensive team in the country.
Wow.
And we won 8 out of our last 11 games, all against NCAA or NIT teams. So it shows that it works. And I think that's kind of bled over to this season. Mm-hmm. We've gotten off to a really, really good start.
Right.
We're 4-0, especially on the defensive end, and that's our identity. Obviously, we got a lot of things to get better at, especially on the offensive end, but that'll come.
Right. And so you're in your second year now. You're feeling a little bit more comfortable. First year there's a learning curve there, obviously. You feel like you settled in a little bit more? You kind of focus on maybe more things on the court now?
Yeah, I think so. I think comfortable is probably the right word to use. I've been at Xavier for a long time, but it's still an adjustment going from assistant coach to head coach. And I think having our whole staff that stayed from last year to this year was huge for us, not only just in recruiting, on the floor. I think they know kind of what to expect out of me and what I want, our system, our terminology, and how we practice and do things at Xavier.
So a little bit more cohesion.
Absolutely.
Which is key if, you for a team.
Yes, it's huge. And again, you see that continuity. When you have continuity as a staff, I think that leads to success.
All right, so you guys came through, this pains me to say, the Missouri portion of the schedule unscathed, 2-0. What did that experience, teach you? What kind of challenges did that help you guys face as you get ready for the next part of the season?
It was good that we were able to play in 2 close games. I think being able to execute down the stretch like we did will serve us really well in our upcoming part of our schedule. But Missouri, they're obviously so physical. It was like a Big East game in November. And just their sheer size and athleticism and toughness that Coach Martin has with his Missouri program, and to be able to have our guys respond to some adversity was a really good sign for us moving forward.
For sure. And so, all right, we got to get into it. Najee Marshall, he's averaging 16.5 points a game so far, only 3 for 21 from behind the arc so far. What are you expecting from him to try to get it going a little bit more as the season gets along?
Yeah, I have confidence in him shooting the ball. And he's a good shooter. He works on his shot every single day. He's just got to continue to shoot the ball, step in, take the right ones, which I think for the most part he's taking the right threes. We know our identity is we're an inside-outside team. But again, like if it produces an wide open outside shot, then we're going to take it.
And I feel like you all go as kind of Najee goes. He's kind of like the engine for you guys.
He is. He's a terrific player. He's a first-team preseason All-Big East player. He's 6'7", versatile, can do everything. Great defender, rebounds it, can pass it, can score it. He does a little bit of everything.
I'm pretty sure you were excited when he decided that he was going to come back, right?
Yeah, just a little. Makes my job a lot easier.
Exactly. All right, I want to get to your big man, Tyreek Jones. So I want to make sure I get this right. You said that he could be the best big man in the Big East, averaging 14.5 points and nearly 8 boards a game. What more do you want to see from him?
I just want to see that consistency from Tyreek. It's got to be every game, I thought last year he had some big games and he had some games where he didn't show up as much. And, again, I saw it a little bit against Missouri, and Tillman had a lot to do with that. He's a really good big man for Missouri. But, Tyreek has to be a double-double guy. There's no reason why he can't get at least 10 rebounds per game with as strong, as tough, and as athletic as he is.
All right, you guys are getting ready to hit the road this week, playing in a tournament in Charleston. What type of challenges does a tournament like that bring, and, what are you looking forward to from that tournament to help you guys as you go forward?
You get to play 3 games in 4 days, so your preparation's is really tight, going from game to game. But that's how it is in the Big East tournament. It's how it is in the NCAA tournament. You got to be able to turn that page very quickly to the next game. But it's going to be a talented field. We start off with Towson. Towson had Florida on the ropes. They're a talented team. Hopefully we'll get the winner of UConn or Buffalo, and then on the other side you got Miami of Florida. You got Florida. It's a loaded field, so we're going to get to play against some really good teams that'll prepare us for our Big East schedule.
All right, I can't let you get out of here without at least mentioning UC. I know you've probably been keeping a little bit of an eye on them. What are you seeing from them that maybe not has you, nervous, but, looking at what they're doing ahead of you all's matchup?
I haven't seen them live, have not watched them on TV or anything, but I know they're off to a pretty good start, and Coach Brandon's going to do a great job. Obviously Cumberland is a tremendous player. I know Trey Scott, and I'm familiar with those guys, so they're both tremendous players. So I expect them to have a really good season. Should be a heck of a crosstown shootout.
All right, Coach. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. Good luck this week in Charleston, and come back on the show anytime.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. That's head coach Travis Steele from Xavier. We'll be right back. We are on to the regional final of the high school football playoffs, and joining me tonight to break down some of the matchups is our guy, high school sports reporter Mike Dyer. Mike, How you doing?
Reggie, it's always a pleasure to be with you. Thanks
Oh,
for
for
having
sure.
me. Appreciate it.
These segments always do very well. People are always tuned in to see what you have to say.
Fun time of year, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Playoff football, nothing like it. All right, let's start with Division I. Colerain and Elder do battle at Mason. Elder look good. They're rolling. So are the Cardinals, though, but they do have a big loss now, potentially with Jalen Thomas with the car accident, and he may not play on Friday. He had 171 yards and a touchdown. How big of a matchup is this one on Friday?
Oh, it's definitely significant, Reggie. I mean, you talk about two West Side rivals. Met in the regional final last year. Certainly everybody remembers 42-0 Colerain over Elder in that game. Played at Mason. And, yeah, it's the 15th meeting all time between these two programs. So it's anytime these two teams meet on the football field, it's going to be something special. And I expect the same thing Friday night.
Yeah, so I was telling you a little earlier, Luby just pulled that 4th and 2 play just out of nowhere, 70 yards to the house. What type of challenges is Colerain's defense going to have against him and that offense that's powerful?
I think, you know what, the interesting part there is Matthew Luby is deceptively fast.
Yeah.
I think a lot of teams, even Winton Woods, I think maybe overstated or understated what he could do with the football when he's running, because he can make some big-time plays. GCL South Co-Player of the Year for a reason with LaSalle's Cam Porter, obviously. But, yeah, I think it's going to be one of those things where, you know, Colerain's defense, they played lights out against Fairfield the other night, but they're going to have to just watch for what Luby can do. They know up front, Jacob James and Luke Kandra and all that offensive line, all the size and strength that they have there, but they're going to have to protect not only against Luby, but obviously he can throw the football. Evan Vollmer, Joe Roy, or Drew Ramsey.
Yep.
It's a tall task, and I'm sure, you know, Coach Sean Cutright, being the defensive coordinator there for over a dozen years, the way he was before he got the head coaching position, he's getting his troops ready as we speak.
Yeah, got to scheme something up. So let's go to Division II. LaSalle gets Harrison. They had a big-time win over St. Francis de Sales. You know, how do you see this game shaking out?
Yeah, I talked to Harrison coach Derek Rehage earlier today, and he was even surprised that they held the Sales to 7 points. So, you know, a very storied tradition there in Columbus with the Sales program. But, yeah, and you talk about his quarterback, senior Connor Kinnett, having an outstanding season, joined the OHSA's all-time passing yards list for the entire season this year, throwing over 3,200 yards. But LaSalle, they have so much talent on both sides of the ball, Reggie, and I think even Coach Rehage would say, hey, we got to take it one play at a time. We know what we're up against. That secondary LaSalle is something special. Offensively, they're getting it done with Cam Porter and Zach Branham, Devontae Smith, another player to watch. So Lancers are #1 seed for a reason, but we'll see how it shakes out.
For sure. All right, want to talk about Wyoming, but real quick, just want to go to Baden. They beat Alta Friday night. Kind of surprising because, you know, Alta is a perennial powerhouse. You know, what are you expecting to see from Baden in this next round?
Yeah, they play Trotwood Madison, obviously.
Woo.
They're a special cornerback. Sammy Anderson just committed to UC this past week. So both teams 9-3, but talking to Coach Nick Yorty over there at Baden, and he was really proud of the effort, obviously. They beat Alder 42-7 in the regular season, Reggie.
Crazy.
So very uncharacteristic to see that score against an Alder team. But Alex DeLong playing really well for them, 230 yards rushing on Friday night.
All right, let's get to Wyoming. So they rolled again. We just missed out on Corey Kiner against Evan Prater, which,
unfortunately,
you know, it's unfortunate, but we'll move on. But they get Valley View. So what are you looking forward to from this game? Because it seems like there's nothing stopping Wyoming from getting back to Canton.
I had them penciled in early this season, as I think I told you, Reggie, to get back to Canton, obviously on a 27-game winning streak right now. They won 41 consecutive games in the regular season. When you have a Mr. Football candidate in Evan Prater, obviously special things can happen, and that's what he's doing. 39-1 as a starter, believe it or not, for the UC commit. And yeah, I mean, Germantown, Valley View, I mean, obviously any team that's in the regional final, you have to contend with. I mean, they defeated Clinton Massey in the first round, got past Roger Bacon this past weekend. So it should be a special game, but really like Wyoming's chances, obviously, having this game at Princeton, too, almost a game that's in their backyard for the second straight week.
That's awesome. Well, we'll see what happens with this week, see who's headed to Canton. Maybe we'll go with them.
Hey, as long as it's not snowing, I'll gladly make the trip.
Exactly, me too. Mike, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Reggie. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll be right back to wrap up the show. Welcome back. After our program is In Depth with Graham Benzinger, who caught up with a college basketball legend. Check it out.
This week we spend the day in Florida with Dick Vitale. The Hall of Fame broadcaster opens up about being bullied.
And I would cry like a baby because I was so hurt.
And his passionate appeal to help kids fighting cancer.
Kids, beautiful kids, are future. Not enough being research done to help them live.
All that's coming up next on In Depth right here on 9 on Your Side.
Thanks, Graham. Looking forward to that. Well, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun, but we got to go. I'd like to thank Jim Breech, Coach Travis Steele, and my guy Mike Dyer for joining me tonight. And to my village who helped put this all together, hope you enjoyed the show. Let's do it again next Sunday. Until then, thanks for watching. Have a good night and a very blessed week.